Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Otaku Heaven coming at you with another anime episode review of Phantasy Star Online 2, the anime adaptation. This time we'll be reviewing episode 6, and this episode was basically the standard slice of life that you're gonna get out of a type of anime like this. We get to see that they're all going to a hot spring, but Itsuki's grades have fallen, so he has to work very hard to get them back up. We saw a little bit more of Rina's interest in Itsuki in the sense that she made all of his study plans for him, and that's a lot of study plans because they were like two stacks tall of at least this many books, like it was about that wide. So it's pretty that's a lot of study material. But well, he pressed through it and got it all done in one night. And he even ate his dinner really fast, so he didn't get to enjoy the dinner that was at the hot springs. So he tried to wrap the night off with a bath in the hot springs, and then Aika actually decides to come into the male's bath with him, and she's really doesn't understand why Itsuki's freaking out about him coming into or her coming into the male's bathroom. And so he decides that once he goes to the outdoor springs, that he's gonna play some PSO2 because the last samurai, one of the runners of the hot spring, basically told him to go to the outdoor spring to set him up to play PSO2 with a PlayStation Vita they basically had sitting out wrapped up in a bag. And basically, he's playing PSO2 to tell Coda about everything that happens. And at one point, he was actually on there before Aika come in, and he had to get off really quickly because Aika came in. And it's pretty funny because Coda was in the game. He's like, "There's no way, something just happened." And it happened while he was in the bath, so it's sure that he's experiencing something delightful. And the whole time, everything he's doing over there is basically he's just failing. And there's this little guy that reminds you of the Bat from Rosary Plus Vampire, basically just making comments about him and how he's doing in the game and in real life. He basically just keeps telling me he's failing. And basically, Rina Senpai basically decided she was gonna make a bunch of snacks for him while he was studying, but she couldn't find him. So she logs into PSO2, finds Coda, and asks Coda if Itsuki told him where they were. While Rina and Coda were having this conversation about Itsuki's location and where he was in the real world, it's pretty funny because Coda decides he's going to schedule the meetup where they can talk about it, and he's in the hot springs right now, and he tells Rina to meet him there. So he's thinking he's about to play with Rina's character or talk to Rina's character in the hot springs. So he gets really excited, and then the little dude pops back on again and says, "This is a success." But then she shows up as Soro instead of a Rina character, which was pretty freaking funny, I thought. And the whole time that he was there, he was just like, yeah. He basically was really, really upset about it. But she told him where Itsuki was. Itsuki was obviously in the hot tub, or in the hot springs, rather. And basically, the little dude pops back on again after that. He's like, it was actually a failure. So Rina decides that she's going to go to the next hot spring over, basically the female hot spring, and talks to Itsuki through it, and she's like, well, since you've already finished your work, you can play PSO2 a little bit. And so they play PSO2, and while they're sitting there talking about PSO2 and him actually playing it after he gets his grades up, Aika jumps up out of the air and basically bolts off. And Rina's like, oh, what's Aika doing over there? She's pretty shocked about it, just like Itsuki was shocked when Aika appeared, even though Aika had absolutely no emotion while she was there. And basically, the last Samurai's PlayStation Vita broke. A Darker came running out of it, and Aika disappeared at the same time. So maybe there's more to Aika actually being in the human world than we had initially thought. Maybe Aika realized that the Darkers had not only invaded the PSO2 world, but would soon be in the human world. So the real story is actually about to start here. And Last Samurai was drinking at the same time, so basically everybody thought the Last Samurai was full of shit. But obviously it did happen. We've seen it happen. They're not gonna know it's happened because they weren't there. But he's like, well, I could have been drinking. It could have been a dream or something. That's probably what happened. But regardless, the Vita still broke, and there had to be some way he broke it. But he figured, well, he was drunk. Oh, that's a very plausible explanation to breaking the Vita. And so they start playing later on in class. The Darkers escaped. Aika's there. Aika's in her full cosplay, or actual clothes that we thought were a cosplay in the beginning, but she's actually a full blown Darker killer, basically. Full blown members of the Guardians colony. So she's trying to kill darkers in the real world. So perhaps the darker invasion will spread into the real world, and the whole time there's only one darker out right now. So that's the whole thing that she's dealing with, and they're sitting there playing PSO2 in class while they're studying. And Rena proves that she can actually study, play PSO2 in class, and answer whatever question could be asked of her while they're playing PSO2. And basically, she scolds Itsuki for doing the same thing, trying to play PSO2 in the middle of class. And then Itsuki's like, wait a minute, are you in the middle of class? And, and then Rena proves that she can actually do that. So basically, we're seeing a darker invasion of the world, the darker invasion of the real world. That's pretty much this whole episode. The rest of it was just slice of life, which is enjoyable, but there's not much to place a review on. So there's not really too far I could go into that except for the growing bond between Itsuki, Aika, and Rina, and basically not all three together, but Itsuki and Aika, and then Itsuki and Rina separately. Um, Regardless, though, the Dark Invasion, I hope it expands into the real world a whole lot more broader, so we can actually see some things going on. It seems like the storyline is just actually starting, and the anime could actually start getting interesting really soon. But so far, the first 6 episodes have been kind of like, probably around like a 6 or a 7. It hasn't been really too good. But if it expands into the real world like it's playing into, then it's going to be extremely good in my opinion. If they play it out right, they have a lot of potential right here. But that's my thoughts on it, guys. That's all. Peace.